So welcome everyone to our weekly ADFM book club. We are continuing on. We started Money Master the Game by Anthony Robbins. And we did talk a little bit about the intro last week, but we're actually diving into section 1 today. So it's because he has these sections and chapters like 1.1. So we're doing 1.1 to 1.4. And anything really that stood out to you, thank you so much, you guys, for coming on here. And we'll just get rocking. I mean, for me, the story, and I think it's like the last chapter, the billionaire who wants to die broke, and the other one, I don't know if that's the name. Pretty much, Tony is talking about the meaning you place on money. And so there's one billionaire who made a decision and invested in something. And he lost a bunch of money. He lost like $3 billion, which is a lot. But he was known as one of the richest in the world. And because of that, he lost that status of being one of the richest in the world. And so he walked in front of a moving train. And a week later, found out that he actually got a loan that he thought that he didn't get. So he actually got money back. And then there's another story of another billionaire who gave away all his money. And so he didn't necessarily live rich. He lived quite broke, actually. And what he did was he anonymously would donate his money. And it just kind of shows this kind of example or difference between how people look at money and the meaning it has for them. And, Tony Robbins always makes me think in terms of all of this and the meaning it has. And also challenging, in that first kind of section of making a decision to put money aside, and then it's not necessarily how much you make, but it's how much you keep. And it actually reminds me of, I don't know if anyone here has saw it, but when he launched this book, he did a lot of interviews, and he did interviews with different people, even within like the online marketing business entrepreneur space. He did an interview with Tim Ferriss. He did an interview with Frank Kern. And I watched the Frank Kern one, and even Frank Kern, who is, he's known as like the guy in the whole internet marketing world that really just, made a lot of big money and got started early on. And even he said he wished he had read this book because it's not really about even how much he made in his business, but rather what he could have done with that money to put it aside. And even though we talk a lot about automation and things like that in our business and our being able to create that kind, this is totally different where, you can really create like an actual residual income and use the effect of the compound effect. And it's totally different from this idea of earning money. It's more like setting it aside and letting it kind of work for you. So definitely interesting. Can't wait to get through more of this. But those two stories really stood out to me. So I don't know if anyone wants to pop out and share what stood out to you. Anything really, if anyone wants to share, come out.
Well, most important thing, I wrote down 2 things. Pay it forward. It's also a movie. I saw it, and he talks about pay it forward, and it's similar to your story, what you told just, Kat. But that's what I wrote down. And the secret to living is giving. That's what impressed me the most from this chapter. So give things back to the world. What's your vision? That's also have to do with what your vision is. What you and it's not about earning the money, but what you do with the money. What are you paying forward? What are you willing to do to give to other people? Also, the story he told about Thanksgiving. Someone gave their food, and he's now feeding a lot of I don't know how much a lot of people he feeds now because of that one story. So that impressed me. And also set away some money. So I have opened a bank account to set away some money every week. So that's impressed me from this chapter.
That's fantastic, Ria. Also reminds me of The Slight Edge, because it's the same kind of idea. The stories too there's some similarities there between sharing, and putting those slight edge principles and doing kind of the small steps, but making it a habit and actually putting the money aside and just locking it away. Yeah, it's fantastic. And welcome on, Leslie. Whoever wants to come out, jump out.
Okay, well, I'm here to like balance out the testosterone because, I watched the last one. It's like all estrogen, and I'm like, man, we need some testosterone in here. But here's the thing: I read this book last year when it first came out, and I started rereading, and I've been bad. I haven't caught up to where you guys are. But I was out doing my 10,000 steps, and I had the Inner Circle on with David Wood doing "Speak Your World into Existence." And there's that one little clip where he talks about when he went to a Tony Robbins event, or he used to listen all the time when he was a kid, up until the time he was 15, to all the Tony Robbins like cassettes and CDs and stuff. And he was waiting for like the secret, because Tony Robbins said, hey, you want to know how to figure out how your money, you'll know that you will have money. And David Wood was like on the edge of his seat, and he said, and Tony Robbins said, give it away. Give 10% away. They call it tithing. Give to your religious organization. Give it out to homeless people, shelters, whatever you want to do. Give 10% away, and that will prove to you that you will not go without. So I just heard that last night while I was out walking around, because I had that on, and I said, wow, that actually plays into everything we're talking about. So even within the Empower Network, the tenets of Tony Robbins are very much part of what we're doing and how we're working our businesses.
That's awesome, Don. And we do need you here.
And he was great in Shallow Hal, by the way, if you never saw that movie.
I did see that.
I just saw it over Christmas. It was great.
And of course, George Costanza, Jason Alexander plays the best smarmy guy going, so it's always good.
That's awesome.
That's right. He was also the friend in Pretty Woman. He was Richard Gere's friend in Pretty Woman. Okay, sorry. We digress.
Awesome. And it's kind of funny too, like it's interesting because it's a money book, right? It talks about money. But he starts off the book with talking about gratitude and talking about giving away, and it's, setting that meaning and all of these things, which are not, what you expect to read in something that would be like this, but it just shows. And yeah, I saw exactly what Don's saying. I remember Dave Wood saying that. And it's like the mindset and how we approach things is always the most important. And so that's how he starts the book. So it's just cool to see that.
Hi guys, how are you? I haven't seen you guys for a while.
Hi, Julia.
Happy New Year. So I don't know. I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan because, that's what my degree, Master's of Psychology. So, everything that he does, I'm always like, yes. He was before his time, he's such a pioneer. But this book's amazing. He talks about the Thanksgiving. He actually, there's a YouTube video about it too, that he is actually talking about it. So if you haven't seen that, it's actually very cool too. But I've always been giving to others. I think everything when it comes to money's no different than how you want to be as a person in relationships or how you want to be as a person in your career, to me. And somehow people think of money differently, right? So if you want to have a good relationship, what's the first thing you do? You be giving and loving to a person, right? So when you want to make more money, then you don't hoard it, inside ourselves, because the more you try and hold on to something, the more you lose it. That's just kind of when I was reading the book, the whole time I was thinking was why don't we just in our life apply the principles to money that we do to relationships and our career? And that's what I always get from when I read Tony Robbins. It's like he has the same principles in everything. Live in gratitude, give to others, be of service, and that's just kind of wow. I mean, money's just no different than just how we are in general. I think we just look at it as I don't know. We look at it. It's like it's either our like villain, or it's our best friend. You know, it's our enemy or our best friend. I guess is a better way to say it. You know, and somehow I think that that's not what money is supposed to be. That's kind of like what I get when I read his stuff. You know, it's kind of like, wow, I need to think about money sometimes differently than I'm thinking about it. You know, it's not what's going to give to me, but how is it going to give to others? Which it's funny because when I was young, like, you know, I was a mom when I was 22 and 24 and put myself to college, and literally I wanted to be a lawyer. Like I was going to go to law school, but as soon as I had daughters, like none of what I wanted mattered. What mattered is what they wanted. I wanted them to go to private school. I wanted them to have a good life. And so I totally ditched all my plans for my life and like completely I went to a career that actually got me money so I could put my kids to private school and give my kids the kind of life that I wanted them to have that I didn't have. And I guess that's what this book reminds me of, that sometimes maybe I don't do that now that my kids are older as much. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of, I don't know if that was helpful. That's what I get out of it.
That's great, Julianne. And I look at it for my kids too, but from a different standpoint. So I must have always had the financial mind because I was always a saver. That's just intuitively who I was, right? That's who I am. So I knew how to balance a checkbook. I knew how to save for a rainy day. I watch my 401k grow, right? I know when I retire, as long as the market doesn't crash, I've got $1 million when I retire. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 55 if things keep going the way that they're going. And then I look at my kids and they're like, they just don't get it, right? They don't get it. They'd rather spend $12 for a candle than put that $12 into Coca-Cola stock or something, right? So I'm really reading this. The first time I read this like a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever it came out, and I listened to it, that was for me. But this time, I'm reading it, I'm looking at it for the next generation, for my legacy, right? I'm going to leave my legacy, and I feel like I'm not doing that very well right now. And this book is really kind of helping with that, because just like in my business, my goal is to help everyone not have to work, because when their family needs them, they want to be there. Well, you do that through income, but then your money has to earn money if you want that to be long-term sustainable. So when I read it, and that was in 1-3, so hopefully I'm not jumping ahead since I was a little late, but what Julianne said just hit my heart. We do this for the people we love. We want to leave this legacy, and the people we love, they can be our family, they can be our kids, or they can be strangers we've never met. You can love people you have never met because you have such a giving heart and a heart that wants to help. But you can't help people if you can't help yourself first. And that, to me, is our biggest goal here. We need to be able to help ourselves, because I can't give $1 million away if I haven't earned $1 million, if I haven't accumulated it in some way, shape, or form. So that, to me, was the biggest lesson. I need to learn to teach others, because I'm leaving a legacy. And my dream is that everybody is at least as financially sound as me. I'd rather them be financially sound like Tony Robbins or Bill Gates or someone else, but at least as financially sound as me. It's time to get that dream into motion.
I have to jump out again because I'm one of those people, and I'm probably a very small minority in 8FM. I have no children. I don't have family. But what I want to do is, when Kat, you would have loved my late fiance Susan, because she volunteered for 14 years at a no-kill cat shelter here in Lakewood called Cat Care Society. I want to help animals. You know, I want to help. But, you know, did you ever see? And it's kind of funny. Did you ever see the movie about Schmidt with Jack Nicholson? You know, I mean, I know it's funny because it's my name, but he had the little friend that he was like sending money to and helping out, and it was always like, dear Ndugu. He would write the letter, right? It's like doing stuff like that, helping someone that can't help themselves. And I was watching the Next Level Mastermind, the second one last night, with Darren Hanser. who was talking about the email marketing last night. And he basically said that if you are not using your gifts to the fullest extent so that you can make money, you are actually hurting other people and other causes that you want to help, because you are not living your life to your fullest potential. And I'm really taking that to heart. You really have to think about that. And this book plays into that, because he goes through everything, every different aspect of money and how you can make it and how you can spend it and how you can use it to get to where you want to be. So just wanted to, because I've been thinking about that for a while. Everybody's like, I have kids, and I don't have kids. I got a dog and 2 cats. So that's my family. Well, and my mom lives around the corner. But yeah, I mean,
people just as much, or things, or whatever. You still have a cause. You still have a purpose.
Well, yeah, I want to help animals. I want to help people who need transplants, and that's why I need to get money. I want to make sure that people like Sue don't have to die at 43 because they can't get a liver. I mean, that's out of control. That's why I want to make money. That's my focus.
That's wonderful, Don. And I'll say my cats are like my kids. I don't have kids, so I know that there isn't, like, it's different, but my cats are my kids. And
you guys who only have fur babies spoil them terribly. Terribly. My mother takes better care of her dogs than she did of me. I totally get it.
I have to say, though, one thing, though, I got to say, like, the cat kind of like gives you like attention and affection on their, like, when they want to. But see, like the dog, I could look at him wrong and he'll be like, what do you like? He'll be right there. He's right there all the time. So it's a whole different ball game of affection.
Well, I didn't actually become a cat person until recently, but this will go into a whole other discussion here. But
back to money.
I love that, Don. Yeah, and it's so true, right? And for me, actually, one thing that's kind of close to me, from the time of living here in Costa Rica, and even personally experiencing water shortages and things like that, because we live in the country, helping to build water wells and things like that. And, we all have that. We all have something close to our heart that may be, it may be with family, or it may be, it's, both a cause. And yeah, I agree. It's our duty to, if we want to change something in the world, right, we got to do it, instead of going on Facebook and complaining. Like, I see so many people complaining about this and that and politics and all of that. Well, okay, but what are you going to do about it, right? And it's like he gives the tools, and also, talks about how money just magnifies who you are. And so, because there's so many things, like even the last hangout, someone said they hate money. And it's such a very powerful thing to say that you hate money, because what does that mean? What are you hating in that, right? And it's like what Julianne was saying, it's these meanings and in the way that we treat people and how we approach it, and then how we can do that with money. And so money is that tool. And really, this book is called Money Master the Game. And it's just this idea that you can master it, or you can let money master you your whole life. And that's not, I don't want to be a servant to that. I would rather be able to master it myself so that I can do more with it as we grow as entrepreneurs. Because the one thing too here is that we have this ability to earn money, and we have this ability to go down this route and learn and grow as entrepreneurs and create an income where we don't have a ceiling. And that in itself brings a lot of responsibility. And I'll share too that, even that scared me for a long time. The responsibility of being able to make a lot of money scared me. And I think even with that, people, go through different things with beliefs and even are afraid of success, because there is a responsibility that comes with it. Making more money gives you more to manage, to deal with, to be able to do things with. And at the same time, we see people judge people so much that are rich, right? That person should spend money on this, or that person should spend money on that. And it just, there's a story I remember about Oprah, where she went and she bought a purse for, it was like $40,000 or something. And then I remember someone in the Empower community wrote a post about it and said, people were bashing her and saying, she shouldn't be spending that money on that purse. She should be giving it away. But the whole point was, well, if she makes X amount of money in the millions and millions, I don't know how much she makes, and she spends a small, tiny percentage of it on something she wants, that's great. But if you take your income, which is probably nowhere near that, and you look at the things you're spending your money on, how does that compare? What percentage of your own income are you spending on things that you don't need, right? And it's like people are so quick to judge because they see these amounts or whatever it may be, but that's not what it means. How much does she give? I mean, she gave everyone a car on a show, right? It's like all of these things. And it just shows a lot of feelings about money, and you should do this with that. And of course, as we make more, there'll be people that will say, well, why are you spending it on that? You should spend it on this, or you should give it away, or you should whatever it may be. And it's just interesting. It's, really making me think about all of this and what it means, right?
Well, I don't know if you know this story, but I mean, the same thing with like our new president. He was coming back in his limo from Atlantic City, and they got a flat tire, and a guy pulled over and changed the tire for them, and Trump paid off his mortgage. I don't know if you know that story, but that's a true story. Trump paid off the guy's mortgage. So.
Well, I think that what you said is true, though. It's all perspective. So Oprah Winfrey is actually worth like $2.9 billion. So, I mean, like $2.9 billion, like, and she can, I mean, $40,000 to her is like 4 cents to us, or for, you know what I mean? Like, it's like really, I mean, so it's kind of perspective, right? Relative. And to be quite honest, that's wonderful. I didn't know that story about Trump. But the reality is, like, it's people, though, you hear stories who have money who actually don't do anything of service with it. I think that's what maybe, but Oprah does a lot with service. So if she spends $40,000 on a purse, good for her, because she does so much for the world and so much for the community and so much just, I mean, for like, especially for young women, young Black women specifically. I mean, so good for her. She should enjoy her money because she's earned it all herself. She wasn't born into money.
No, that's actually the point that I was going to bring up. Instead of looking like, well, how come Oprah didn't give that $40,000 away? Like, why don't they look at it like, wow, I can be the next Oprah because look where she came from, and then I can have $40,000 to give away. Instead of looking at it like, well, how come she's not giving it out to people? Use it as inspiration and motivation to get to where you want to be, using her as a model. Like we use Lawrence as our model, same thing.
Well, also Oprah doesn't do, I mean, she's made a lot of people like Oprah. Dr. Phil would be nobody without Oprah. Brene Brown would not really be anyone without Oprah. I mean, those are just two people because they're psychology and I'm in psychology world. So that's why I was thinking of them. But the point is, like, you know, like there are many people whose career and money and stuff they owe to Oprah too. She didn't just say, hey, I'm going to do it and I'm going to make myself rich. You know, I think that's also what Tony Robbins is kind of saying too when you read him is, hey, you know, don't just hoard and keep it to yourself. Take your talents and help others become successful, which is what's great about Empower Network is that's what we all help each other do, which I love. You know, I wake up happy to go, oh, I actually get bummed when I'm not going to see you guys. I'm like, oh, I can't see them. Darn it. So.
Now, didn't Warren Buffett and the Gates Foundation, aren't they like making sure that by the time they die, like all of their money gets transferred into like charitable organizations? I think a lot of billionaires got together and came up with this idea that they're not really I mean, I guess they're leaving their family set, but all of the bulk of the money is going out of their control to charitable organizations by the time they die.
I don't know. I know you're talking about referencing. I can say I live up here in Seattle, and the Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation does so much. It's crazy for people. I mean, like they are very charitable people, like super charitable. So I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, Don, but I can tell you that they do a lot. So.
And I don't know any specifics on that. And I wanted to ask if Kathy or Shakira, if you would want to come out, if there's anything you would want to share. if you want to jump in on the discussion. I don't want to put you on the spot, so.
Sure, I'll share something.
Awesome, Kathy.
So I liked when he said you can always get more money, but you can't get more time. So you need to make sure that you're using your time really wisely. I like that quote that he had in there. And then he also talks about moving from just working for money to having money work for you. And I think that's an important thing to think about, because a lot of times we're just thinking about trading our time, especially people that have jobs that are trading their time for money. And it'd be awesome to have a bunch of money that's earning for you rather than just you working hard for it. So I like those two ideas. And then the other thing that he talked about in the 1.4 section was the basic needs. He went through that whole 6 levels of needs. And so I liked looking at that, because it seemed a little different than the one I'd studied in my basic psychology class back in college. Because he talks about the first one is certainty and comfort. You want to feel in control. And so I imagine people like refugees and that don't have any control over their lives, and they're not certain what's going to happen next. They can't even meet that basic level of being certain and having comfort. And then once you have that level, then you move up to, you want some variety in your life. So you want some uncertainty. So that was kind of interesting. And then the third level is significance. You want to feel important. You want what you're doing to be special and to feel needed. And that was interesting. And then the fourth level was love and connection. So we want to feel alive and feel loved. And then so those were all 4 needs of personality. Then the last 2 were needs of spirit. Level 5 was growth. You want to have something you're doing to feel like you're growing and getting fulfilled and have something to give. And then contribution was the last one. And that's what we've been talking about a lot, is contribution.
That's awesome, Kathy. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, thanks for going through that. Yeah, these really made me think a lot. Even the first 2, certainty and uncertainty. It makes me think a lot about this lifestyle that we chose with Romeo and I, because this idea that we wanted time freedom and we wanted to go out and kind of discover this idea of like leveraged business and being able to go online and not have to constantly trade time for money was what attracted us to it. In the last 5 years have just been this like huge just learning curve about all of this, about meanings and things like that. And we've lived with going from so much certainty in our lives to so much massive uncertainty was one heck of a ride. It was like just a major roller coaster. But, I do think because I'm a person that I like change. I love change. And I kind of like the uncertainty, and I've come to find comfort in it. Like, it's this weird thing because I find that there's so much possibility. So this really made me think a lot about that and these meanings and contribution and growth. I mean, we're all in this field of being entrepreneurs, and that's literally equals growth. You can't be in this kind of business without growth. So we've all really taken on a lot of this into our lives, even the uncertainty factor in going into this world of, just discovering your gifts and talents and new skills and just going for it. So it's amazing. As an entrepreneur, I find it just really hits home. And I do wonder how I would have approached it before being exposed to all of these things. So yeah. Thank you. Shakira, did you want to come out and share?
No.
Oh, you just, you muted out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to be present. I haven't caught up with the rest of the group yet in the reading, but I didn't want to miss the sharing. And I got to say, from the pieces that I have read, I really don't have anything more to add to what has already been said. I mean, it really is about what money can do for you in your life as an energy, and in not just in your life, but in your world, and the people that you come in contact with, and it's about it. I mean, that's kind of like why we're here. I think, just really to see what purpose we serve to the people who are around us, not just for ourselves, because, you know, what good is that? You know, you can have everything in the world, and if you're alone, what do you really have? You know, as was said, it's all relative, and you know, I think he definitely expresses that. I mean, the personalities that he profiles in the book are just, you know, just exemplary of how, you know, what's possible for anyone who decides to put their mind to it, you know, to put their mind and their heart to it. So I don't really have anything more to add.
Thank you so much, Akira. That's wonderful, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you. So, so on that note, what we'll do is for next week, just trying to look at the chapters here. This is a big book. Let me see. Because we're going into section 2, become the insider, know the rules before you get in the game. So how about we read up until chapter 2.2. So we'll go 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. So we'll just do three chapters. And if anyone else wants to pop out anything, any last words or anything like that before we close out today's hangout.
Well, next week, a lot of us are in Atlanta, so I don't know if there are a lot of people here then. So maybe skip 1 week or do the book club with a few people.
That is a good point, because
Thank you.
we are traveling that day.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll just postpone. So next week we won't have one, and we'll just continue the week after. So I'll just remember that. Do we stick to, maybe we do 2.4? We have 2 weeks now to read.
Because we're still supposed to read, even if we can't attend the meeting, right?
Exactly. Because if we
And
break
how
it down,
How about if we go?
the day.
How about if we go to 2.3? That way, other people who might want to join in can still catch up with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
2.3.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a long flight, so a lot of time to read.
Okay.
Travel safe.
Yeah. Everyone travel
So
safe.
Kat, we won't see you next week?
Probably not. I thought it was the week after, and yeah, I'm a kind of a last minute person. I'm very, very horrible to schedule things with. Living in this level of uncertainty in my life has become so normal that it's hard to schedule. I gotta get on fixing that, but yeah, unfortunately, but still a small chance, but I'm not sure yet. So. But yeah, so thank you so much. Fantastic discussion. Always just leaves me thinking a lot about all of this, and this is a fantastic book. So thank you again, everyone, for coming on, for sharing awesome insights, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks. And yeah, thanks. Bye-bye.